This is the long-awaited Pencrest lacrosse poem. So here we go. I have an electronic device in me now, though. As the writer of this poem, I've been waiting for quite some time for the team on the field to supply the perfect ending for this rhyme. There will be no disappointments to cover in this verse, and they'll wait till next year. Because in this room tonight, the Pennsylvania State Champions are right here. I must admit this particular poem will have some challenges along the way. It's hard to write when you're trolling Facebook looking at pictures all day. It's a nice problem to have trying to decide how the poetic lines will be spent on a season that had so many memorable moments and thrilling events. Back in April, I was thinking of a theme to celebrate Wayne's 200th triumph. Sorry, Coach, but for the most part, your milestone theme is getting bumped. But we must remember March 24, 2000, on a night quite damp and a little cool. Your first win over Henderson. None of our current players were yet in school. Life has a tendency to come full circle, as the older among us know. That March night, we outran a more highly touted and regarded Chester County foe. 14 years hence, Abbott Grove learned it's still a mistake to be trying to outrun a group of skilled and focused Pencrest Lions. Now, we all know that this year's script had the most perfect ending, but if you think that felt that way in March, you are just pretending. We started off at Cape Henlopen with our first real look at this bunch. Frankly, all we did well on that trip was eat grotto pizza for lunch. I, for one, went home that night and to my family began to complain. It's going to be pretty much the same as last year, basically more of the same. I'm sure there are some now who back in March said they were true believers, but there was clearly some concern that we would end up as underachievers. So to not pose this question would most certainly be remiss. How do we get from that to this? This rhyme could run long. We should not be expedient when pondering and discussing state champ ingredients. Of all things in the mix, the most important in every way is the contributions and character of all the people who play. To recognize the main ingredient, now is the time for us to give some mention to all 39. We had a sprinkling of freshmen in our state title stew, so let us salute Sac Ranger, Sac Cal, as well as Joe Q. They are a part of the future, our leaders eventually, but for now we recognize their contributions tremendously. You need underclassmen working hard at practice each and every day. It takes hard work from folks mostly waiting for their chance to play. Names like Boyer, Grosses, and Nolan, Regal, Whalen, and Spear. Also Hespenside, Nelson, and Bond, as well as McLaughlin, Gorman, and Van Leer. Ryan Granger and Ryan Schultz, the Delaney Young platoon with sticks long. Mix in Bullet, Hannah Bonnet, and Ryan Conard, short sticks that were strong. It is certainly not new news or any particular kind of scoop. We got big contributions from all of our underclass group. For any team, senior leadership needs to be the tie that binds, and our group was about as good as anybody could find. We had long sticks like Max, Justin, Brett, Liam, and Joe. Middies like Dylan, Robert, and Ian, Ethan, Billy, TJ, and Rob Clough. Casey and Dylan did the job manning things between the pipes, while Mango and Cam are attackers who can provide the snipes. Yes, all 39 consistently came hard to play. To a man, they got better each and every day. Now, the accomplishments of our team deserves some brief resuscitation, not the least of which is 25 wins, which is the very best in the whole nation. For the sake of posterity, in order to give this magical year its due, this is the longest poem, by the way. This poem needs to do, it's like the Iliad. This poem needs to do a brief highlight review. It was over at Garnet Valley on that early April night that it first began to appear we would be a little better than just all right. Under a minute to play and we trailed the Jags by one. In the fifth game of the season, it looked like an undefeated year was already done. But then the Jags took a shot and McCleft made a big save. In his usual casual manner, to Protesto, an outlet he gave, Bonbon tied the game with the clock only having a few ticks. Mango won an OT after the ball touched Alex and Drew's stick. A few wins later, and Bishop Shanahan and Pencrest would meet. Both teams came into the game without a defeat. Again, late in the game, we would trail by one. Most assuredly, it looked like our winning streak was done. Until Ethan stripped his guy and drew a penalty too, and we tied the game on an EMO goal by Drew. In OT, there was a turnover caused by O'Donnell Schultz and Ryan Kennard. At the other end, Mango won it again with a shot that was hard. The Central League Championship was always the first goal in our quest. We would meet those Radnor Red Raiders to see who was the best. It was a little bit wet and muddy in Pencrest's friendly confines. Perfect for us, but a bit of trouble for the turf-spoiled boys from the main line. Dylan knows the bounces at home, and in the second half, Radnor's offense would cease. The only goal that they got, the film showed their player was definitely in the crease. We would win 7-5. In this tilt, we would certainly not slip. And number 15 from Radnor must still remember Delaney's fourth quarter strip. Only Stogel was left in the league, and we had not beaten him in 10 years. An 11-9 win helped us to ease our fears. Dylan dominated the face-off like he had done so many times before. Even better was that was an occurrence we would see several times more. Undefeated Central League champs, yes, we had claimed the Central League crown. We then capped it with an undefeated regular season on a Friday night in Downingtown. The playoffs loomed next, but looking back, I think most of us could tell. It is a long season, and at this point, we were not playing all that well. We beat Downingtown East again in a low-scoring game. Then the rematch with Springfield, of course, would cause us much pain. For the first time in 20 games, we tasted the bitter pill of defeat. It now became time for all the critics to turn up the heat. Overrated, they say. One more loss and they will be home. To beat Pencrest, just slow it down and play a zone. The worst number one seed ever. They played weaker teams. Matzinger can't coach, and other things that were mean. Central Bucks loomed next in the playoff round. It looked all over with 30 seconds left when they scored to put us one down. Seemed like the legacy of this team would not be the 19 what we won, but rather the 2 losses in a row in which we came undone. Like I said, this is not short. Dylan Pretresto then stepped to the face-off, though he was less than 100%. Illness and a long night of facing off had him all but completely spent. Still, he summoned the energy to gain one more of his over 80% wins. Then he ran through the entire Central Bucks defense and put the tying goal in. On steamroller from Drew, Robert deposited the overtime game-winning goal. And just like that, the Lion Express was back on a roll. Next up was Upper Dublin, with its dynamic attackman, Michael Sowers. We won 8-5, and Ryan Granger made Sowers cower. It was on to the state tournament, and Shanahan got a chance to avenge their loss, but they could barely win a face-off at the X. Dylan Protesto's the boss. Defending state champ LaSalle was up next in the round of 8. We held on to win 6-5, and Dylan McCleft in the defense was great. Mount Lebanon was a little easy, to be honest. Their team was not all that strong, though we were a little bit sluggish from the bus ride that was long. We won again with relative ease, although we were not on the ball. But we must note that Matt Young's end-to-end rush and tucked goal. We were headed to Hershey to play for a state championship, one the haters thought was impossible after our District 1 slip. Avon Grove's offense was dynamic, their defense active and mean. All you heard about Pencrest was that they had a nice little team. The Red Devils started quickly and led early by 2, but that did not dissuade the Lions from what they had to do. At a time late in the first quarter, Avon Grove led 3-1. The Lions found another level, and Avon Grove's time on top was soon done. Dylan made a number of saves that we will not soon forget. He even broke out his cool behind the back outlet. Mango blew up and scored 4 in a row, including an underhand shot. How he made it, we don't even know. The defense had begun to shut them down. Avon Grove had not seen one like it all year. Granger more or less made Tanner Peck disappear. Brian Schultz, Kevin Delaney, and Matt Young made the 2 other high-scoring attackmen become more or less unstrung. Liam raced through the midfield, getting ground balls and other plays that were required, while Zach Cowton came in and did the same thing when Liam was tired. Dan Bullett's big ground balls and Ryan Kennard's alert D staked the Lions to a halftime lead of 5-3. As the third quarter proceeded, it was the Lions who had more. In fact, before it was over, the Lions offense would score 4. Drew scored a goal and Mango added his 5th into the net. Billy Kennard's high rip and Alex's slick low shot added 2 more, but it was not over yet. The quarter ended 9-3. It had become clear that we were the best, but it seemed the fates required that we must pass one more test. We played 3 minutes man down and 3 goals made it 9-6. Avon Grove had the momentum. They had halved the lead very quick. We're trying hard. Just when it looked like the Red Devils might get onto a roll, Ethan sprinted down the middle and deposited his 2nd goal. Alex added another, and Robert added one too, which pretty much meant that playing it out was all we had to do. When the final seconds ticked down, we had reached lacrosse heaven. We were the PI state champs by a score of 12-7. We had tailgates and pep rallies, parties and parades. There can be little doubt of the mark that this team has made. We must finally get to the end, because one etiquette I did not want to breach is to write a poem that would run longer than Bill O'Donnell's speech. That the ride was magical for all of us is beyond a shadow of any doubt. So many contributions in so many places that you hate to single anyone out. The coaching staff and Jeff Pettit must get their usual props. But I must take the time to give one more shout out before this rhyme stops. I'm asking for your indulgence for a couple more quatrains, if you will, so I can give a little 4-line shout out to our booster president, Bill. His ability to procure game films for Huddle is like a machine. It provided invaluable help in preparing for various teams. No task was too much for him if it would help our team. He's a major part of helping Pencrest Lacrosse reach the ultimate dream. And so at this point, there can be no pretending that this long verse still needs a little addending. But I must tell you, it might be hard to find a way to address the events that caused this poem's delivery's delay. We already know the events of that night. As you can see, I am on the way to being right. There are so many thank yous for me that there is no doubt that I have some genuine concern that I will leave someone out. There may be others, but I must cite both Joe Montgomery's and Nick for the reactions that were both incredibly skillful and quick, plus all the rest of you for your meals, visits, and prayers. There we go. It's both humbling and inspirational, knowing how much you all care. So in closing, we must celebrate the accomplishments of our team. Pencrest High School Lacrosse, the state champs for 2014. A team full of character and characters, as well as tremendous skill, almost. A squad full of competitive greatness and indomitable will. Inside the lines, this was a team that would never yield. And of course, we know for me, the biggest play came off the field. We are the 2014 PI state champs, the best in the state. And more importantly, it happened to a group of people who were great. That's the long delayed poem.